is between African Americans and Africans that sometimes, one night, sometimes he was saying that because we were brought here and robbed of our true identity, that we didn't know, and that's not all the way true too. Many of the brothers, I was reading about a slave that was brought here, an enslaved man that was brought here that was a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when it argues who brought Islam, was it Noble Drew Ali, was it Mustafar Muhammad, was it, this brother was 200 years before any of them.
Mm-hmm.
He never stopped practicing Islam, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I realized is,
what he's saying is he was talking to an African. This is Killer Mike saying he was talking to an African. He was saying, like, because we lost our identity coming over here. We're talking about identity right now, the difference between African Americans and Africans. And he brought up the it's a Muslim guy that came over here. He came over. He was actually a prince in West Africa, but he was brought over here in the transatlantic slave trade. What they noticed, I believe he was in Virginia. I can't remember his name right now, but what the overseers and the slave master had noticed about him is that he fluently spoke Arabic and wrote Aramaic. He could write in Aramaic, and he finally got in touch with somebody that could what's the word, translate what he was saying. So that got him out of slavery. I think it got him to Britain, I believe, and then he went back to his motherland. I believe when he went back, people still remembered him, and he was reinstalled as the king or the prince. But there are other people, there are other Black people that remember who they were when they were brought here as slaves, and they never forgot that either. So the whole idea of, sometimes y'all hear me talk about us being God's chosen people, us being the Israelites. The whole idea of that and where that comes from is from slaves, from people who remembered who they were in West Africa, what their practices were in West Africa. So, but I don't want to get off of it. Let's get back to what Killer Mike is saying. So I'll give some more commentary.
maybe we got here because we leaned too much into tribalism. Maybe we got here because we start seeing ourselves as I'm Igbo, I'm Yoruba.
That's a good point.
And we have to understand that.
In fact, we did get here because of tribalism. We got here not just because of tribalism, but because we were different than the people who rounded us up, who went to war with us, and then later on sold us to Europeans. We were different ethnically. We were different in our religious practices, and therefore we were enemies to the people who kidnapped us a lot of times, or just went and raided our villages in West Africa. This is well documented that the Africans that were selling the people to the Europeans, other so-called Africans, were not the same people. It wouldn't even make sense if they were. Okay.
Point.
That ultimately being robbed of our history was a wrong. But if I had to find any blessed in it, I don't differentiate between the original man and woman. Because one thing I do know, before I named myself as a part of a tribe, before I gave my God a different name or decided to worship an Orisha, what I do know is that God put us here first. The first human being. The matriarchal I'm getting the word, I'm saying it wrong. DNA is of a Black woman in Eastern Africa. Mm-hmm. So my thing is, if I already know, I told people all the time, y'all be arguing about who they are online. I said, Elijah Muhammad already solved that problem for me. You're the original man and woman. Right. That's it. Whatever God put here first, that's you. And that's how I move. So no matter what you...
So you see how he's summing it up as Elijah Muhammad said that we're the original man and woman. And that's how he sums it up, that all Black people, or all people who are melanated, are the original. They are the first. I look at it like this. Well, more specifically, all people on the planet Earth at one point in time were Black people, were melanated people, dark-skinned races. They still wasn't the same though. So we can't just use a cover phrase to say we're all the same. The same way, like, that's why I don't like the word African, because it's a blanket term. We can't just use a blanket term or a blanket phrase to explain who we are, because that no one else in the world thinks like that but Black people in America. You know, we're Pan-African. We're the people that looking back and saying we need to go back to the motherland. We need to connect with our cousins, with our brothers. But that's not how the whole world looks at it. You know what I'm saying? So do you have groups in East Africa? You have groups in South Africa. You have groups in the middle of Africa that they know that they are a select group of people and they're not the same as other Africans on that same continent. So I feel that if we're going to look at it as a blanket, we're going to use a blanket phrase like I'm the original man, which in my mind is a prison term that brothers go to prison and they come out really super extra, you know, conscious, you know, that's still missing the mark. That's no difference than saying that we're all African, because it still doesn't say what is your nationality, what is your true identity. Let me finish this off.
The
call
cream of the
yourself
planet Earth.
well, no matter what you call yourself, I recognize that God put you here first, and we are of the same bloodline.
And that's not true. You know, so that is it's just not true. I just explained it. Like, we are not of the same bloodline as everyone else. You have videos where Eritreans and Ethiopians are saying they are not the same as a Nigerian, which is true. You can look on the walls of ancient Egypt and they had enemies, and all of their enemies are you know, different black races. Like, so when we try to unify under being a dark-skinned people, there's never been no unity in the history of the world. These people had their identities. And because we came over here and were not allowed to do certain things, a lot of it's been stripped from us. So we are a people that just say, you know what? F it. I'm the original man. F it. I'm an African man. F it. Everybody black is the same. And we don't do no further research or we don't try to dig deeper, because the answers are out there. And when brothers tell you what the answers is, you don't want to hear that. You're like, nah, I can't be God's chosen people. That's something else. But I can be the original man. I can be a Moor. I can follow it. I can be a Muslim. But nah, I don't think that we're God's chosen people. I don't think we're the real Jews. I don't think that.